Welcome to Flex with Purpose, the podcast where we explore what it means to move toward our highest potential, not for personal gain or applause, but to strengthen others and make the world a better place. I'm your host, Schalee Sanchez, and I'm so excited you're joining us today. Each episode is a conversation with someone who leads boldly, leads authentically, and lets humility guide their impact. I am so excited that Ashley Maroney is joining us today. She has an incredible story to tell. I know that you will be encouraged and inspired by her. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
As we get started, Ashley, I want you to talk a little bit about what have been some of the significant wins in your life along your journey that have brought you to the place that you're currently at.
Yeah, I was an athlete growing up, so I feel like I had a lot of wins throughout that period of my life. But I would say until like 2 years ago, I feel like my life truly began 2 years ago, and that's probably the biggest win. I didn't grow up going to church or with faith in really any aspect of my life within my family. And that one day I prayed a prayer and truly gave my life to Christ. And I think that was like the biggest win of my life. And for the past 2 years, my life has been completely different, and I give it all to God. So I'm just super grateful.
Can you share with us some specific changes that you have seen in your life during the last 2 years?
My relationships have flourished with my family. We're now all going to church together, which is amazing. My sister as well. So just seeing that impact throughout my life, everybody coming to their faith on their own terms, and that has just been so beautiful. And also, like my own relationship, I have become so much more steady in who I am as a person. I no longer look to the outward world for approval or acceptance. I get that from the best source ever, and it's just been the most fulfilling thing.
I know that making change for all of us can be challenging, and that transition and adaptation can sometimes feel awkward, messy, uncomfortable. Have you experienced any of that in the last 2 years?
Definitely. I feel like in the past 2 or 3 years, I've gone through so much change, and it has been so messy. I've had to figure out so much that I never really thought I would. And in the past, I feel like I would have gone through it alone or tried to muster through it on my own. But just the strength that I have knowing that like God's by my side, it's been so amazing. And I feel like I'm going through these stumbles on purpose, and each one of them has their own season.
And you mentioned something earlier about being an athlete. Do you see how God is using that currently in your life? The experiences that you had as an athlete, does that now have a role in the things that you're involved with or what you're doing now?
Definitely, yeah. When I was an athlete, I was injured quite frequently. I was a pitcher for softball. And as a female athlete, there's a lot of missing links in caring for our bodies, right? And a lot of us, we didn't eat enough food, we didn't recover too well. So I was always injured. Eventually, it took me out of the game, and I went off to college, felt very lost not having that like competitive outlet. And then I think when I did come to my faith and I found that competitiveness in me again, not with softball, obviously, but in my training. So I love working out and being able to reframe that competitiveness to more of a solo thing. I'm not on a team anymore. That's been really beautiful. And I just feel like I have kind of a little bit of an edge to me because I did play sports and I lost it for a little bit, but she's back. So it's really fun.
I like the way how you said that your competitiveness didn't get lost, even
Hmm.
though it now has a different outlet, that that's
Right.
still a part of who you are, and that
Yeah.
is still something that you're able to tap into, even though you found a different way to do that now.
Right. And I feel
So
like it's with a much less selfish tone to it now. So that's been really interesting to see how that's evolved.
yeah, can you expand on that a little bit more
Yeah.
as far as like or in regards to how you've seen it become more of not about me kind of
Mhm.
competitiveness that you have
Right.
now?
Yeah. So, like I said, I went off to college, kind of lost that sport, that drive. And then I eventually got into bodybuilding. And that's a very selfish sport. People will say it's not, it is. I mean, every waking moment is about yourself, thinking about what you're going to eat, when you have to work out, which is multiple times a day. It becomes all about you. And I eventually got out of that and then evolved my training to just simply like strength training. I'm recently into CrossFit. So it's been really, really fun. But now I see my training as how can I equip myself in the future as a mom, as a wife, and how am I honoring my body the way that Christ would? Like how is that getting portrayed into my everyday life through discipline and making sure I'm taking care of my body? I think that's one of the most amazing ways to express your faith and dedication to yourself and your faith and your family is through maintaining your fitness and your health. Because for longevity's purpose, like we need to have all of that.
What I am hearing you say is that we were created with a body, a spirit,
Yes.
a mind, and so all of that is intertwined, and
Yes. And
that honoring our body is actually a part of our worship to God.
absolutely.
So, in the ways that you have seen that competitiveness change from a selfish perspective to really a attitude of how can I use this in a way that will impact other people in a positive way? How can this be beneficial, not exclusively for me, although it does benefit my own body and my capacity? How does this benefit other people? I have enjoyed hearing about a recent research project that you got to lead, and I would love for you to share some about that. So if you can just dive into
Yeah,
telling us a little bit about that.
certainly. Yeah. So starting at the beginning of this year, I decided to embark on a research project to present at the ACA Sports Council. And that was earlier this month. So we're finally through the thick of that. But like I was saying, I was a female athlete growing up and there was a lot of missing links. So I wanted to research around the female athlete, but I wasn't really quite sure how I wanted to dive into it. And I didn't want the tone to come across as I'm blaming it all on the hormones and there's not much we can do about it, right? Because there's not much that we can change with our hormones directly. So I found this article about how melatonin can improve bone density in postmenopausal women. And I was like, that is so interesting. I've never heard of this. So I kept researching into that. I feel like I kind of stumbled across it by accident. And there's actually a ton of research on it. So I was starting to think, in menopause, women, they have a decrease in their bone density and increased risk of fracture rates. And it's a pretty significant problem. Once you fracture a hip or a thigh or arm bone, that can really impact the future of your skeletal health for sure. And we see that same thing happening in younger female athletes in high school, college. Uh, Stress fractures are very common within female athletes, especially runners, high impact athletes like gymnasts. So that kind of raised a question, why is that happening so much more in females than men? So this whole melatonin thing kind of got me down that rabbit hole. And I found some amazing statistics, like 20% of the visits that you have within a sports medicine clinic are made up of female athletes with bone stress injuries. And you
Mm.
can imagine how many people are visiting an orthopedic office. A lot. And there's a lot of them around the country. So that's a pretty significant amount. So I started to raise the question, why is this happening so much? And I looked into how female athletes lose their period. So I'm sure we've all, if you're a female athlete, you've heard, oh, it's normal to lose your period. We all deal with that. Like it's kind of convenient to not have your period when you're playing your sport. But there's a reason that we don't have it, and it's not normal. It's common, but not normal. So the reason that does happen is that when you underfeed your body, so female athletes, just society, our mental approach to it, we tend to not want to eat a lot of food. and it's difficult. So when you're a female athlete, you need to eat more than the regular sedentary person who's only going to class and maybe working out once a week. We tend to not do that, especially at a young age. We lack that guidance. So what happens is your body, literally your brain, shuts down your ovaries and says, it's not safe right now to have a baby, so you're not going to have your period and you're not going to ovulate. When that happens, your estrogen decreases pretty significantly. Same thing as in menopause. And that can decrease your bone density and increases your risk of fractures. So that whole roundabout thing, I put that all up on a poster. And I tried to research if there was any usage of melatonin for stress fracture recovery in the younger female population, because I'd only seen it in the postmenopausal and like perimenopausal group. And my question was, how can this aid in recovery for females with stress fractures? And I didn't find anything. Didn't shock me. But we had some really great conversations at the symposium about female athletes, because it was all chiropractors there. And a lot of them work with female hockey teams, female basketball teams, female track teams. So it was great to hear their perspective on, just the attitude of their female athletes and how hard it is to get them to eat enough food, but really just conveying the importance to them can really impact the longevity of their career.
So many things that you touched on
Yeah.
that are extremely valuable, especially for female athletes that are
Mhm.
young and that are hearing all of these false messages about what they need to do, and giving them this really valuable information
Right.
can completely change so many things in their lives.
For
So
sure.
you had the opportunity to share at this conference. And is there any opportunity that has stemmed from that you're going to pursue in regards to continuing the research, or sharing the information with other groups or in other platforms?
Yeah, I'll definitely continue to share this information, especially my sister is in college playing softball. So it's just a great opportunity to share with her, hey sis, you need to make sure you're eating enough food and recovering, and she's doing a great job. But I don't really foresee taking the research any further and implementing it with the younger female like athlete high school college group. That'd be a pretty big study, and I just not at this time don't know if I'm up for that. But a lot of great questions were asked about the impact of birth control on these rates of fractures and how that works with estrogen suppression. So that would be something else to research. I could look through articles. I wouldn't have to conduct my own study.
One of the things that you mentioned is that there is already quite a bit of research out there about
Hmm.
this topic. And so there are places that female athletes can go to get
Hmm.
more information and find out what is really the best path forward for them in regards to taking care of their body and being able to perform at the level that they want to perform at. So
For
it's
sure.
not I have to let go of this in order to have this. It's
Right.
learning about our bodies and being able to take care of our bodies as we are pursuing the training for whatever it is that we're participating in.
Yeah, I had two conversations. These women didn't know each other, so I thought this was very interesting about both of their moms have breast cancer currently, and they're taking estrogen suppression medication, and their physician actually advised them to take melatonin for their bone density. So I thought that was so interesting. It's just a different application than what I had focused on, but it's actually being used in clinical practice, which is really cool.
There is always so much more for us to
Hmm.
learn about our bodies.
Yeah,
God created them
absolutely.
in a phenomenal way. And
Yeah.
there's so many studies, and there's research and things that we can continue to learn about and grow. Do you have any advice for a female athlete in regards to who to trust? Because there's also false information out there. And so, as you look into more of what is going to help you take care of your own body, what are the specific things that you look at to know, okay, this is a trustworthy source?
Absolutely. I think getting information from somebody who knows how to read research and decide what research is quality versus which one isn't. A lot of articles get thrown around the internet, and claiming these huge claims, and I'll look at the articles they're referring to, and they're not the best, or they're from 20 plus years ago. Medicine is always evolving. It's so important to stay up to date with research. Like, I cannot express the importance of that enough. Things 20, 30 years ago were not the same as they are today. And it takes a while for studies to come out, yes, but it's important to look at the most recent things. And when you're getting information from somebody online, it's very easy to see, what qualifications they have. I would probably prefer to have nutritional advice from somebody who's a registered dietitian. They've gone to school for this. They have learned this. They've dedicated their education and their days to learning about nutrition. And a lot of people are even sport-specific nutritionists. In college, it's unfortunate, but there's not a ton of funding at the average level within collegiate sports for nutrition guidance. At the top 10 schools, you're going to have a lot more guidance with nutrition and support, but the average college athlete isn't really getting that. And I'm seeing this with my sister. She is so busy, literally doesn't have downtime at all because she has 2 practices a day, classes, studying. It's hard to eat. So when you're not having that support in that ease of access of food for females, it can make it really difficult. So I think advocating for that would be my next step within college sports, helping with the ease of access for them to get nutrition.
So, do you have any wisdom to share with an athlete in regards to, okay, they've learned what is going to be better for them, and then they're having to make this change, and it might go against the grain of what they have been in a routine of doing for so long. So, what are some tips on how to make that kind of adjustment?
I would say, for my experience, once you feel how good it is to be strong and to not get tired at the end of the day, you won't go back. So I would say bet on yourself for 30 days. Give yourself 1 month, go all in. And at the end of it, give yourself the option, do I want to keep doing this or do I not want to keep doing this? I can guarantee you the answer will probably be I want to keep doing this because strong feels so good. Um, so I would say bet on yourself. I think even if it's scary, even if it's hard, just that you have to bet on yourself. And it's really hard as a female because you constantly have this noise around you. And unfortunately right now, skinny is so back on the internet. Being skinny again, it's like the early 2000s, it's so back. So as a female athlete, it's hard to not look like the models and social media people. But strong feels so much better than skinny. I will tell you that. There's nothing like being able to lift a bunch of weight or go through your whole college workout and not feel tired and be at the end of your day and feel still like you have energy and like you're young, and it's amazing.
I really appreciate you highlighting for all of our female listeners about how important it is to really evaluate how we're viewing our body,
Hmm.
and that we don't allow the noise and the influences
Yeah.
um, to make us where we don't appreciate the bodies that we have,
Hmm.
where we can understand that our bodies are different.
Yep.
Like for me, it's been this process of I have this bloat, right?
Hmm.
And because I have these extra organs in my body, it's going to always affect the
Hmm.
external appearance that I have, right?
Right.
And so being able to be okay with that and accept
Right.
this is who I am, and that's a
Hmm.
good thing. Like, I'm not trying to make my body fit into a certain mold that it wasn't created for, right?
Right. And when you see it, God gave us the coolest thing ever. We can bring life onto this earth. When you can frame it that way, you realize how beautiful it is, and you just become so much more accepting of, the different days of the month you might look different, and that's okay. Your body is getting ready to either bring life or not bring life. It's so amazing. Yeah, so when you can honor that, I think that's when you really feel like you kind of step into your womanhood and you're like, this is so cool.
Yeah, and I love the way that you emphasize being able to be strong.
Hmm.
And that is really the important part. of
Mhm.
training is for our bodies to be in a state where they have this resilience
Mhm.
and capacity to go through all of the daily activities that we do, and be able to do those with confidence.
Mhm. For sure. And that when you can nail that down, it will trickle into every other aspect of your life. I notice when my training frequency goes down, I get too busy or I just don't feel like it, which is fair. We have to listen to our bodies. But when I see that slip down, my spiritual commitment also will tend to teeter down a little bit and vice versa. So it's like when you notice one thing going down, typically other things in your life will also experience that. But on the opposite side, when they go up, everything else can come with it too. So it's just really empowering. You don't have to act on every single thing separately. You can choose one thing, and I can guarantee you if you go all in, everything else will build up around it too.
One of the things that I have learned is that they're all tied together. And
Yeah.
as you said, when we start to slack off in one area, then it impacts the others and has a
Hmm.
ripple effect. But in the same way, when I'm out on a run, it's a spiritual experience for me.
It
It's a
is.
time for me to be close to the Lord, and it's
Yeah.
also a mental relax for me and a time
Hmm.
when I can really gather my thoughts. So my mind and my body and my spirit are all engaging at the same time in
Hmm.
something that's very beneficial.
Yeah.
Can you share a little bit about what that is like for you?
Yeah, I've actually stopped working out with music, so I'll still wear my headphones, but that's a time for me to talk with God and or just myself. I mean, the music can really drown out the noise, and I feel like we're constantly surrounded by noise all day. We listen to music in the car, TV, podcasts. They're amazing, but you need to have that like dedicated quiet time. So I notice like I know that I have an hour every day or so where I'm working out. Let's use that as time to talk with God and just hang out with him and have conversations. And having that quiet time to being open to hearing him have conversation with you too. So that's been one huge change I've noticed and realizing that my training and my faith don't have to be separate.
Is there a specific moment recently during your workout that you've really felt God speak something significant and specific to you?
Yeah. um So I've struggled a little bit being in the chiropractic program because so much of like my personal training is also what my job is. I've struggled with the separation of it, and it's
Mhm.
taken a lot of joy out of working out for me. Like the past 2-ish years, I've really struggled with being consistent. Like I'll have months where I'm really great and consistent, and then I get burnt out from it because it's all that I learn about in class. And then I love my patients so much, but it's also the conversations I have all day with my patients too. And then, I go to the gym and I work out, and it's supposed to be my like quiet time and my refresh time. But those same thoughts are still in my head. So it just never turns off. I couldn't really separate the two. God's helped me realize that they can be separate, and it's okay to have training only be yours, and that you need to disconnect them from your work and your school.
Well, I know that it is an ongoing journey as
Yes.
we listen and God speaks into these moments in our lives to guide us and give us the next step. What would you say really is driving you right now? What is the thing that you get excited about?
Uh, God's really moving in my life right now. I'm stepping into a completely new season of life, and it's like actually pretty scary. But also it gets me excited because for the first time in a long time, I feel like I'm listening to what God is calling me to do. I've had this voice in my head that there's something else there for me. There's something else there for you. There's another way that I want you to work for the kingdom. And I've just shut it out. I'm like, no, no, I'm here. I have to finish it. The money, the commitment, the time. And then you realize it doesn't matter. Like if God's calling you to be somewhere and it's like becoming ferocious, you can't ignore it. Again, you have to bet on yourself because like God's betting on you right now. Like you need to show up too. Like he can't work it all for you. So doing some scary things, but they're really exciting. And for the first time, and I would say a long time, I feel very excited to wake up and work towards my goals and my dreams because I know that like God's by my side and that this is the path that he wants me to go down. And there's nothing more freeing than knowing that like I could have no support from anybody else, but I know that I have God's support. And like that's all that matters. So it's super exciting. And again, like just even deciding to listen and take a leap of faith. I've noticed the difference because I've had many of those thoughts around my life. Like God's like, Ashley, like you're not supposed to be here. But I ignore it and I'm like, no, 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 no. It feels different when you commit fully to God's plan for you. It feels so different. It feels right and it feels freeing and you just have this peace. I love it. Gets
Thank you
me giddy.
so much for sharing that,
Yeah.
Ashley. And I am thrilled about what God has ahead for you. It has been my own experience that He doesn't show us the full picture. He gives us the next step.
Yes.
And so we take that step. But it is so encouraging to hear you
hmm
say, you know what? I'm going to trust and I'm going to do it. And I'm fully committed to it.
It's like like the concrete stepping stones that you have in a garden that you walk through a path, and I feel like one just gets laid out in front of me, and then I take a step and I stand there for a while, and I'm like, okay, what's next? Let me just work on this little one, and then you get another one, and like you just keep getting these stones for you to step onto. That's how it feels.
Have you noticed any specific confirmation that has come as you've taken one of those steps that really fueled you with the courage to take the next step?
Yeah, my creativity and my thoughts just kind of naturally like come to me. Everything just works out perfectly, and I haven't had any pushback. When you make a decision that's rooted in your confidence and your faith, I think people can tell. And so through that, getting so much positive feedback from, this risk that I'm taking, I think for me is the confirmation. And I just have so much more energy too. I think I just had to take this season that God is putting me through and like go all in. And I feel like even though what I'm doing now is demanding more energy of me, I have more to do it.
I am definitely resonating with what you're
Mhm.
sharing in regards to it's a internal
Mhm.
confirmation primarily, even though
Yep.
there have been some external confirmations as well. And I can think of in my own life some moments when I felt like God was just telling me, Schalee, show up. Just show up and see
Mhm.
what I have in store. Like, watch
Yeah.
me show off. All you need to do is get there.
Yep.
And whether that was showing up for a run when I was training for a marathon, or
Mhm.
whether it's showing up for a speaking engagement, when I get there, he provides in abundance for
Mhm.
it to be highly successful. And I just am filled with this joy of the incredible experience of
Yeah.
joining God in that moment and it becoming way better than I thought it was going to
Right.
be.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like you've seen that quite a bit lately. Just with everything that you've been doing. It's so amazing. Feeling that confirmation like internally. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And I know for you, things just kind of like fell in place and you're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be in this season. This is perfect. I love that.
So, as you move forward in this new chapter
hmm
of your life, what are some ways that you see humility playing a role in that?
I think for me, just staying rooted in, it can be very easy to become selfish and worldly when you're pursuing something new and scary. But just reminding myself like who got you here and who's bringing you through this. I think for me that will be definitely my biggest piece of grounding for me. I'm the kind of person who I'll tend to kind of white knuckle things and like just get through them and push through them. And I think a lot of that was what the chiropractic program was for me, was pushing through it, even though I had that voice of don't do it, don't do it. And during that time, I've never been like further from myself. So staying rooted in God and his purpose for me, and that truly my purpose is to, be a child of God and spread the gospel and raise a family that's strong in our faith. Like, that is my purpose. Everything else on the side is an opportunity to share that with people. So staying rooted in that, I think, will be the biggest thing for me.
Okay, you mentioned something, so I'm just gonna
Okay.
also include in here that you're engaged to be married in
I
December,
am.
right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
gonna have a wedding in Costa Rica, which is
Yes.
awesome. So you're getting started with this new chapter as well of
Yeah.
starting a family, and
Hmm.
that is really exciting. So as you think about all of these new things and talk about trusting God and being grounded,
Hmm.
what are some other ways that you see humility influencing you on a daily basis?
I feel like this goes back again to staying grounded, not in myself, but in God. And that can be hard sometimes, like I've said. Uh, like I tend to become like kind of white knuckle and like do it, maybe not for the best reasons. So staying grounded in God.
I appreciate you being willing to share that aspect of it, of
Yeah.
that really humility is a matter of not relying on ourselves, not
Hmm.
depending on our own abilities, not trying super hard and striving and being like, oh, I know I can do this. Like, this
Yeah.
is, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but in a sense, surrendering to God
Absolutely.
and His grace and receiving from Him. And so I think that that's a really powerful way that we continue to experience an increasing measure of
Hmm.
humility in
Yep.
our lives as we do that continually. Just
Hmm.
like anything else, is the consistency that's key, right? It's
Hmm.
not that, oh, I was humble one day. Like I had this one moment of
Right.
being humble.
Right.
So now I'm arrived. I'm good. I checked that off the list.
Yes.
Um, but it actually, increasing measure, can become a part of who we are.
Absolutely.
And so we've got just a few minutes left, Ashley,
Okay.
and I would love for you to share one last truth or one last encouragement, something that you would like for the listeners to take away from the conversation today.
Yeah. There's one phrase that has stuck with me throughout this entire new season that I'm having. And it's from a Disney movie, the Cinderella movie. Just have 10 seconds of insane courage. And I've held on to that for, the past 10 years. I've written it on poster boards and like doodled it in my planner. And I never really knew what it meant, I feel like, until now. So just have 10 seconds of insane courage, trusting God that when you take that step, He'll take you where you're supposed to go.
That is an excellent way to finish. I love that.
Love it.
It is really in those moments of,
Mhm,
wow, okay, I get to make this choice,
mhm,
right? We have the power to make a
mhm.
choice,
Yep,
and deciding I'm going to go for it. It requires an insane amount of courage, but only for a short amount of time, right? So we
yep,
can do that.
yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Ashley, for joining us today. Thank you so much for all that you shared. Really great things for us to take away today, and wish you the absolute best. Pray God's blessings over you.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.